It's dangerous to go alone. Take this.
And welcome to Nerd Breaking News. We are here, week 6 of college football, the week of upsets. Over here on my left hand side, we have the kid, the diagonal, I have the professor, and of course, we have the eagle just below me. So let's go in and start. Game of the week for you guys. Let's start with Raul. What's your pick?
We're gonna go to the SEC, Alabama versus Texas A&M. This was a really interesting game just because the kid. Listen, bro, relax, okay? I see your faces, guys. There's an elephant in the room. We're not gonna address it right now, okay? Relax. Unlike you guys, I'm an objective fan, okay? So I'm gonna move on with my analysis. Carry on.
Objective, sure.
Anyways, listen. Alabama was coming in with a 3 wins in a row, 2 good wins, specifically against Ole Miss and Mississippi. And leading up to this game, the question was: Are they going to be able to beat Texas A&M, get over the Jimbo hump, and literally set up the stage for the most important game of their season against LSU? Okay, they did it. It wasn't convincingly enough, right? They had to trust their passing game because their running game was being denied the entire game. And that was a problem before the game, right? People said, is Milrow going to be able to throw the ball? And they actually did it. Is it going to be sustainable going forward? We don't know that. But there's one thing for sure. The Showdown versus LSU, the most important game of the season, they came through. The defense that Alabama has is probably the best that they've had in recent years. Their offense on the other side has a lot to desire, a lot left. I don't think they're at that level, but at the same time, we're still talking Alabama. We're still talking about national championship team, and we're talking about Nick Saban. I cannot wait for the game against LSU. I think that Alabama wins out, and then it's going to depend on what the other team's records are. But I think that Alabama is getting closer and closer to another college football appearance.
Good take. Professor, what is your game of the week?
I think that's a great take by the Eagle. So going back to the SEC, the game that I enjoyed watching the most was actually LSU versus Missouri. It was an intense back and forth game, one in which it's one of the few that you look at and you're like, either team could have won that. It was just beautiful football, and I just really enjoyed it. But my other favorite game is probably going to surprise you: Louisville versus Notre Dame, because Louisville did the Lord's work. Ba-dum, pss, and we will not have to hear about Notre Dame at all for the rest of the season. So now for me, the college football season really begins today.
Wow.
That was going to be the game I was going to pick. It's huge to see Louisville upset Notre Dame that way at home. It's no wonder the fans, we're loving it because it really takes Notre Dame out of the game. Louisville is still are they undefeated still?
Yeah.
It might.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, they're still undefeated. So that says a lot about this program that is looking to make an impact on the AAC. So that's going to be interesting because right now, undefeated in the AAC, you have Louisville, you have Florida State, you have North Carolina. Duke is still in the hunt. Miami, even though they had this horrible loss, they're still in the hunt. Clemson, though, is out. It's going to be the first year that we're not going to have Clemson in the ACC championship. So this year is going to be very interesting over there. Kid, what is the pick of the week for you?
I'm going to reserve the game that we're going to mention in a couple of minutes, the elephant in the room, because we have a lot to talk about that game. So putting that game aside, which I can't wait to talk about that game, it has to be the Red River rivalry, right? This is the game where it was, the historic rivalry. And if you saw the game, it was a back and forth. They were just taking each other's best shots. The defenses, the offenses, both quarterbacks play amazing. Me and the Eagle love that Texas quarterback. Damn shame he lost. But we got to get credit to credit given. I think less than 90 seconds, Dylan Gabriel had to do a last game-winning drive. And I blame, it was frustrating because I was rooting for Texas for fantasy purposes. Um, but watching the game was frustrating because credit to Dylan Gabriel and the way he was able to find the receivers and that. But it was frustrating from the defensive point of view because Texas played to prevent defense, and and I hate that about football. And I know why they do it strategy wise, but it's just like if he wasn't really Dylan Gabriel wasn't really having a great second half, and I just think you allowed that to happen. And then the great play in the end. It's all credit to Oklahoma. They went, they won the Red River rivalry. They beat the Longhorns at Austin. The Longhorns, I think, were 3 or 4 at the time. Oklahoma moved up. They helped other teams move up as well because that Texas lost. And now Texas, if the only way they redeem themselves if they meet them again. But I don't. It's just frustrating to be a Texas fan, which I'm not. I'm just saying to a Texas fan to watch that game. But all the credit goes to Dylan Gabriel and Oklahoma Sooners because uh, now the you have a clear path and a clear road to the college football playoffs. They just better not, have one of those games where something happens.
Yeah, and Oklahoma now has gone through their gauntlet of the schedule. They're double digit win, expected to be digit um, favorites in all their games for the rest of the season. They're set up to be in the Big 12 championship. And Texas pretty much has the same thing with their schedule. Their schedule is not going to be as rough. They do have a couple of games they have to keep an eye out, but eventually this is a team that literally is going to end up being right next to Oklahoma. If they redeem themselves, that's the game they want to do it in the championship game. And of course, whoever wins the championship game with one loss is very likely joining the playoffs. We just have to see what's going on over at the Pac 12. The Pac 12, they're pretty much eating themselves up over there. USC had a really, really close game against Arizona, only won by 2 points. Uh, it's a conference that's eat or be eaten basically. And Big 12 kind of is the same thing, but you still have those two big powerhouses in Oklahoma and Texas, pretty much representing that conference at least for this year. So now let's talk about the game we all have in mind over here. And I'm going to give Eagle the opportunity to go ahead and go first and tell us about what happened between the University of Miami and Georgia Tech game.
Oh man, this hurts. This hurts a lot. Not as much as you guys think. I think you guys are gonna be very hard on this loss. I don't think that the season is over yet, but clearly a lot of points for this game. First, not undefeated anymore. Not that we were expected to finish undefeated, but there's always a hope that you can actually get to an important game and actually, get your shot at going undefeated, right? That was probably the expectation before this game, and you probably had marked probably the UNC game, which is going to be next week, or probably the Clemson game, as the ones that you're like, okay, maybe we're going to take a loss there. But definitely you never had it against Georgia Tech. Also, the fact that Georgia Tech had just I don't think they fired the offensive coordinator, but I think they moved it to a different position. And this week they just had like a week of practice because they basically got destroyed. So this just makes the loss for even worse than that. And then the fact that you had the game in the bag with literally less than a minute to go, and then that happens. It just a lot to desire. I don't think the season is over. I just think that it makes the coaching and basically the coaching look horrible, and it's definitely going to affect the recruiting point for next year. But I think we can get back on the horse, and I think we can have a successful season. We're probably still losing to FSU, which I think is the best team in the ACC, and maybe UNC. But I'll let you guys take it away from here. I'm at a loss for words right now.
Well, I'm going to go ahead and start off and saying you brought up recruiting, and Mario Cristobal is known for recruiting, and we've been saying it for years. Not even the podcast, among ourselves, we always said it. Mario Cristobal just doesn't do the X's and O's, and it's always been his biggest weakness. But the recruiting right now is in a very scary spot. There were over 40 blue chip recruits on that field watching this game. And for those that didn't watch the game, basically with no timeouts from the Georgia Tech side, UM had the ball and could have kneeled the game and won, but decided to run it instead. And unfortunately, it caused them to fumble the ball. And on the fumble, Georgia Tech recovered. And with 24 seconds left, two big bombs by the Georgia Tech quarterback to get them the win at the very end, with UM losing 23-20. When a coach makes mistakes like that in front of recruits like that, the recruits are going to be saying, why would I come here? So out of those 40 recruits, yeah, there are a couple of them that are saying, yeah, we're still stuck around. We're all about the brand. That's great. But what about the other 38? What's going to happen to them? And that's to be the biggest question UM has to answer and figure out how to keep those people happy after the performance they had this past Saturday.
Go ahead, Jay.
So, I don't want to kick a man while he's down. But when you're looking at the situation that the program's in, they were right there. They were so close being back where they needed to be. And because of the coach's mistake, it not only sets them back this year, in my opinion, but it also sets them back next year. And the question that the university is going to have to figure out is, how do we want to save face and maintain this recruiting class? I personally do not think they can with the rise of UCF, Florida State's continued dominance, and UF's return to relevancy, plus Colorado and Deion Sanders out here stealing kids left and right. I don't see how the U maintains their next class with the coach they currently have. To me, what they have to do, they have to fire him quickly, announce a replacement quickly, and and just cut bait and move forward. But that's my 10 cents. Passing it on to the kid.
All right, let's go. This is hilarious because this happened to any one of our schools, Ye's, the professors, or mine. The Eagle would be pom poms, wearing literal pom poms, destroying our school.
By the way, he did it on the last show with UCF. So we have examples.
There you go. Well, UCF does it themselves or whatever. But anyways, here's the thing: you can't be undefeated playing high school teams. Brag about Jimbo Fisher's win like it was you guys were winning the national championship. Guys, Jimbo Fisher's record is similar to Bill Belichick's record without Brady and Jimbo without Jameis Winston. Look it up. He has a losing record without Jameis Winston. So keep bragging about Jimbo Fisher. By the way, Eagle is Restrepo or Coleman on the record.
It's always been Coleman, but
Okay. Because the UM Twitter mafia thinks that Restrepo is the greatest thing since sliced bread. You can't have a stadium be completely. It looked horrible. There was so many empty stadiums, and you can't make the argument that it's Saturday night and there's 20,000 things to do on a Saturday night. So, because that was what I kept hearing back in the day, that UM had Miami, living in Miami. There's so many things to do. I'm not gonna go watch a UM game. But they were 4-0, guys. They weren't 0-4. They were not 2-2. They played 3 cupcake high school teams and an irrelevant Jimbo Fisher. And everybody knows the college football eyes the last 5 years, that man's on a decline. Everybody knows that. But whatever, keep bragging about Jimbo Fisher. You can't go on Saturday night and have 40 recruits, which is more than the attendance at UM, apparently. You can't have these recruits. And you literally, by the way, it was the most recruits so far into the season for UM in the home game, and literally wet the bed. It's not enough that Mario Cristobal, allegedly, now we have new reports that the OC was the one who essentially said to run the ball. if I'm TVD, who's by the way went back to what he is irrelevant. If I'm TVD, I'm getting benched for the sake of telling my coach why are we running it. I'm getting benched. Absolutely, I'll do that. Did you guys see the video of the guy who's crying on the sideline saying, "What blank are we doing?" How is Mario Cristobal going to tell these kids or recruits, Professor, come fight for me and let's do it together when we all know that he threw the running back under the bus in the post game. He threw the running back under the bus. He literally said he should be with two hands. He has gone to several press conferences in the last 48 hours, and he has yet to say it's to the degree of he went very political, but he has yet to say to the degree of this is my my effing thing. I should have died on this hill, and yet to do that. Recruits are gonna look at him and say, I'd rather go to Dion. I'd rather go to Florida State. I'd rather go to UF. I'd rather go somewhere else. By the way, fun fact: the two guys who catch the ball on the drive for Georgia Tech are both 305 kids. I'm just saying. The problem with is that what's the argument of their attendance? They have no home court advantage. That stadium is horrendous. Everybody who's gone to that stadium for a concert, whatever, you don't feel it. There's no home court advantage. But if you go to the Swamp, if you go to the Bounce House, if you go to Doak Campbell, you were there 2 years ago. You feel the atmosphere of that arena or whatever stadium you're at. At the only time I've ever seen it packed, ever since they've been official tenants of Hard Rock Stadium, was that 2017 fraudulent year. Everybody thought it was fraudulent, but the fans, where they beat Notre Dame. That was the only time where I saw it packed. Oh, by the way, or whenever Florida State shows up, because it is what it is. But you can't, for you to say that it's not a big deal when the national media, the local media, the Miami beat writers are all destroyed Mario Cristobal. This is not the worst loss in history. There's probably 5 worse. The FIU loss, the three national championship loss they have in their records. Because anytime you lose a ring, that's more important. The last game of the Orange Bowl against Virginia, the Clemson game, they got.
You gotta remind the man.
They got Al Golden fired. There's more losses. They're more severe to the program. This is not the greatest loss in history. I just think it's the most embarrassing loss / coaching loss in history. Mario Cristobal should have vetoed the OC, and TVD, instead of throwing picks, should have told Mario Cristobal, why are we, I'm going to veto that, and I'm going to change it myself as the quarterback of the team. But because the fan base is horrible, because you guys brag every single year playing cupcakes in high school teams, this is what you get. And I'm not saying that this was planned. I'm not saying this was intentional. It was a mistake, and it should have never happened. And I don't think the season's over as well. I do agree with you. I'll be objective here. I don't think the season's over here. But to Professor's point, to counter yours, Eagle, I don't think it matters anymore. It doesn't matter. You could beat Clemson. You could beat the Tar Heels. You could beat Florida State. It doesn't matter, because how is Coach Cristobal going to go to these kids' houses? Hey, come play for the U. Why? When you sold out the running back, when every recruit there, which again the highest recruit so far in the season for in a home game, they must have looked at that team and the coaching, going like, those kids died for this game. They played their asses off. And the coaches said, because remember, I don't know if you guys know about this. There's been 2 local reporters that are speculating on the idea that the running back had 98 yards, guys. And when he got the run, even though you fumble, they count the yards. There's speculation that when the running back got the 100, the reason why they ran it is so the running back could get 100 yards. That's the local beat writers. I don't know if you guys heard about that. And if that's the case, let's say that's the case, and Mario didn't call it, right? It's the OC. Mario's still liable. I'm sorry. When you're a boss and the guy below you messes up, you mess up. And how can you go tell your students or the recruits, the new kids, or even the current kids, because you all saw those videos of the guys crying on the sidelines. The running back kid cried, and the offense, I don't know if you saw that, the offensive dudes went around him to consult him. Mario Cristobal wasn't there, and then the other dude was crying by himself. These kids feel betrayed. And for you to say objectively, Eagle, that it's not a big deal, man.
It's going to be bad, because you're thinking about, what is Florida State going to be able to say to these recruits now? What is Florida going to tell these recruits? What is UCF going to say that? The Georgia, the Alabamas,
Dion.
Everybody's going to come. Dion's going to come. And they're all going to say, hey, look what your coach did. Is that the coach you want to play for?
2 points real quick. One, the coach actually did own up to the mistake about an hour ago. So to put it in perspective,
Just so you know, we're recording this on Monday at midnight, so people can know where we're at.
And he did this correction on a Monday night. That means he slept with this for multiple days, and because of pressure, he was like, all right, it was my fault. I take full responsibility. There's one thing. Two, I want to further reinforce my point that this season is over, and let me tell you why. Because if UM would have had a good season and they would have ended the season with a loss to Florida State, it would have been fine. It would have been perfectly forgivable. It would have been fine. But if they lose to Florida State now, it's over. It's over. The dream is dead for years. They cannot afford to lose to any other good program.
I agree with that.
As long as they keep their coach. They have to replace that coach and get a new one to at least say, well, he's new, he's figuring things out. But if they keep this guy in the chair and they lose to Florida State, those recruits are going to stop. They're going to be like, why don't I just go to Florida State? What am I doing talking to you? And then you
lost the last 2 games too.
Yeah.
I agree with the sentiment of like, there's a lot to think about it. There's a lot to fix after this loss, right? But specifically on the recruiting end, there's going to be a lot of questions from the recruits about what the heck happened and why did you guys, if that's the truth, right? Like, were you guys going for the numbers instead of the win? Well, you clearly got it wrong. But as far as firing the coach, I don't think so. Like, we can make the same argument with Billy Napier in Florida. He should have been fired probably this year. Before this year started, right?
But Billy Napier didn't mess up to this degree. And second of all, UF has a higher 2024 recruiting class than UM. Currently, UF has a higher recruiting class.
He doesn't mess up to this degree because clearly you haven't been watching the games because nobody watches UF games. He's been messing up because he doesn't get the opportunity to actually win the games because they're not close to winning.
They have a harder schedule than UM. Harder schedule than UM.
Listen, that's totally understandable. I get it, but at the end of the day, if you're losing, like UF is losing, you're losing bad. Okay, you're not giving yourself an opportunity to win the game. I'm not saying that this is necessarily justifying the UM mistake. It's not, but it's not a reason to literally say, you know what, after this game we're gonna fire the coach. It's not gonna happen. UF had a horrible loss against Utah, and nobody was saying you know what we should do right now in the first game of the season, we're gonna fire this coach.
Bro, Utah's a really good school. You lost against a losing team. You lost against
no. Listen, I get it, but so is UF. They have a great recruiting.
Hold on. UF's talent today, when that quarterback they have, is not UM's talent. Could we agree that on the record? UF has better.
This is a Florida State fan defending the University of Florida. Carry on.
Raul, who's more talented this year? UM roster or UF roster? No, I'm asking you a question. Raul, I'm asking you a question.
Let me make my point. Jimbo has been riding year after year. Maybe this should have been the game. Maybe this should have been
obsessed with Jimbo.
Listen, no, I'm just talking about it from a coaching perspective, right? It's the same thing that we were talking 2 weeks ago when Alabama lost to fucking Texas. Everybody went crazy. Oh my God, is this the end for Nick Saban? What the fuck is going on? They're not hiring the right people. And then what happens? 3 weeks in a row, just Bama does the job.
Bro, Texas was a top 10 school. You lost against a losing school at home.
And not only that, Raul.
I said it, but at the end of the day, just because of the game, this wasn't a game that we lost by 20 and we basically didn't have a chance. Okay, we're winning the game, and this was a mistake.
This was a game that was at 99.9% win for you guys, and all you have to do was take a kneel, and you did it. And because of that coaching mistake, you lost this game. Now, my question to UM fans is, what is your goal? Like, what is your standard now? Because it's obviously not going to be the ACC championship again. Are you guys waiting just to be at least bowl eligible? Like, what's the goal now? Because right now you're going to be facing North Carolina, who's ranked number 12, and they're the favorites to win it. Then you're going to go after that. You're going to Clemson. So North Carolina is a trap game for you guys. And then you go to Virginia, which should be a win, but if you guys are not careful and don't prepare for yourself, North Carolina State at Raleigh is right after that. And
Wolfpack.
that's before the Florida State game, before the Louisville game, who is currently undefeated at number 14. I, I'm seeing you guys probably win two more games, if anything, from there. Bowl eligible, just barely. Like, what's going to be the standards for the University of Miami? That's a question we need to ask. Like, what's the goal?
The goal is like every other season, and I would suppose like every other team, you go out and you try to win every game, right? Like there's no question about it. Okay, you win out, you go out, and you tell the kids, listen, as much as you're playing for the school, you're also playing for yourself, and you're playing for your families. Listen, that motivation, I leave that to the coaches. Okay, but at the same time, this is just obvious. Every single team is going to try to win every single game. That's why you guys mentioned kids basically saying what the F happened, crying on the sideline. This matters to them, okay? It's not like we're sitting here and it's just like any other game. No, 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 no. It doesn't matter if it's Georgia Tech, if it's Virginia, or FSU coming to town, or you going to Tallahassee. It's gonna matter. They want to win all the games. Now, being objective, listen, I don't know about winning the FSU game. I've said it all year. I think FSU has probably the best talented, is the best team in the ACC and probably the most talented. It's just what it is. They probably haven't win the games by a large margin, but it doesn't mean that they're not going to be they're not the best team in the ACC. Okay, they have a lot of talent. The same you could be said about Clemson. Yes, they're wounded, but that doesn't mean that they're not going to be able to put up a decent game and a decent strategy and beat UNC, you clearly said it. They're ranked higher, and their QB is probably going to go to the NFL, and if not this year, probably the next one. Okay, and me and Sergio have been talking about it like for the last 2 years. Drake May is a really talented QB. Whether he's going to be successful in the NFL, we'll see. But he's going to be drafted in the first round. Hell right, he's going to be drafted in the first
And
round.
you don't
So
think, Raul, and you don't think that Drake May at home in Chapel Hill, where is going to do damage against that secondary? You don't think
listen,
that those kids? First of all, let's go back a little bit. If you go back to the fumble that happened, I'm being objective here, Raul. The fumble that happened, that wasn't a fumble. His elbow was down. That was not a fumble. They screwed UM. I will be objective on that.
okay.
But the problem is you already did the act, right? The act was done. You ran the ball. Whether he was down or not, let's say he was down and you guys survived Georgia Tech. You know what's going to happen if you were to survive Georgia Tech? We still will be destroying UM. You know why? Because that's 4 out of 5 wins against Cupcakes. This happens every single year. The last 20 years has been this. You beat a bunch, the Bethune-Cookman Invitational. You beat a bunch of high school teams. UM thinks they're back. I'm not saying you, by the way. There's not a referendum on you. UM thinks they're back. They play quality teams. How many times have we seen the last, objectively, bro? How many times have we seen the last 6-7 years? You lost against Pitt. You lost against Virginia. You lost against X, Y, and Z. You lost against Duke last year. Middle Tennessee. Like, you lose these games that you scratch your head going like, good programs don't do that. UM hasn't been a good program.
Wait. So you're telling me that last season when Florida State had it all in line to had a perfect season and they lost three games in a row, right? They lost against NC State.
That's disingenuous. That's disingenuous because we all said that those 3 games, we all said at the beginning of the year, that's the gauntlet, and we were going to lose 2 of the 3. So I don't know who you're talking to. I don't know who you're talking to.
Okay, but you said that amazing programs or great programs do not lose those games. Okay,
We were not a great
Don't
program.
lose cupcake games. That's what we're talking
No,
about.
hold on. I said, hold on, but we weren't a great program. We were the surprise of college football last year. So we were not expected to be this good.
No.
What?
Let me put it to you this way. As
Oh,
much as,
Lord.
no, and I'm being objective here, and I know we talked about it. You literally said it. I remember last year perfectly. Those 3 games are gonna be,
And I said
they're
they'll lose
gonna
2.
define the season. Okay, no. One for sure was the Clemson game.
No, NC State. If any Florida State knows that we can't beat NC State, everybody knows that.
At
Yeah,
NC State, we always had this problem with that
you guys were
school.
hopeful that maybe this was the year that you guys were
No.
the home.
Oh, my
No,
God. Raul,
no, we never
Sergio,
hoped for.
Sergio, we
Why are
talked
you
about
all
it.
getting distracted with this side argument?
That is true. That is true.
Don't let people distract you. Hold on.
Here we
First of all,
go.
Raul pull the fast ones on us.
first of all,
What do you got there? What do you
this is
got
every
there?
UM fan right now. Face painted green, eyes closed. No. Let's get back to the topic. And let's not forget about how the Eagle shaded my school for no reason. Because the Eagle said something completely erroneous just a few minutes ago, and I did not forget. The Eagle pointed out that it's all about wins and losses, but what I'm saying is it's not. It's also about how you win and what you're building. When you look at the University of Miami, their issue hasn't been wins and losses over the last few years. It's been, what are you building? And the answer previously has been something, and they were on a certain movement forward, and now they're not. And that's
Listen, but we can all agree, and objectively speaking, guys, this could be a defining moment where it either goes up or down. If it goes up, no.
How would you be able to turn this around and make it positive?
Up just keeps you where you were. If you go up, you're where you were yesterday.
Listen, you win the games that you're supposed to win, right?
Bro,
this was a game.
Bro, let's do your argument. Let's say they split the series between Clemson and NC State, and then they lose Florida State, but they beat Louisville, or vice versa, whichever way. I don't care. Let's say out of the big 4 games you have left, you split them 2-2, and you still don't reach the ACC championship game. UM fans are gonna say that's successful. That's not a successful season, bro. The brand of UM, man. Because you call it a national brand, bro. Nobody goes to their games, man. How is that not embarrassing? You know what that is? The game, they're gonna take a 45-minute bus ride home.
Yeah.
Can you imagine being one of those Miami players on that 45-minute drive back to the stadium after that game? Can you imagine what they were feeling and dealing with at the same time?
They were crying.
Bro, if that guy was crying and saying those words that he said on national TV behind closed doors, Mario Cristobal apologized because
said for sure.
Bro, he apologized because the pressure got to him. The last 48 to 50 something hours have been a national fire dump at this guy. I sent you guys the links. National media dudes who have no business talking about UM because
never watched the UM game in their lives.
Correct. They've been irrelevant for 20 years. They're talking. Have they not been irrelevant for 20 years? You're laughing. Have they not been irrelevant for 20 years?
20 years a slave.
Have they not been irrelevant for 20 years? Since they joined the ACC in 2004, what have they done?
Nothing, because they were supposed to come in and they were supposed to be the team to pretty much dominate their division and face Florida State every year. In fact, the ACC at one point was thinking about bringing the ACC championship to Florida because of the expectation of what the University of Miami should have been. And that never transpired.
Hey, listen, man, like in life, not everything goes according to plan. You have to readjust. And
20 years?
Every fan will tell you, listen, bro, okay, guys, let me put it to you this way. What was Georgia before they won their national championship?
They were still relevant.
Yeah, that's cool.
Listen,
you're going to argue about the teams. When we argue about the teams you had in your conference, like look at the teams you were facing in your division. How were you struggling to not win it? You should have been in the ACC championship every single year.
Yeah, and it happened.
You're playing Georgia Tech. You're playing the Duke when they were horrible. You were playing Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh. Who are these teams?
And the thing is, let me remind you. Here we are, the UCF bash already coming.
Well, what about UCF? What about UCF? Do you want to look at the division that the AAC used to play in and compare those teams against Duke, Virginia Tech, Pittsburgh? Do you really want to compare them to teams like Tulane, Memphis? Come on, man. You're spitballing and you're attacking UCF because unfortunately you're realizing how bad your team is and there's no future right now, and that's unfortunate for the University of Miami, because I do like when the University of Miami is competitive, because I love to see that battle between Florida State and the University of Miami. Unfortunately, we have not seen that in a while, and it's sad. for a program that was held in high regard to fall this bad is embarrassing.
And I'm not gonna lie, I feel bad when I don't see my team win. But you know what? Mario Cristobal, the coaching staff, they made a mistake. Probably because of what you guys said. Maybe the pressure got to them, and they eventually had to realize that they couldn't put it on the kid alone. Right? It was a decision that was made by them to run the ball with the time left. Clearly a mistake because they should have thought that this could happen. That's why you're the coach, right? Because you're supposed to know what could happen depending on the play that you select. Okay, and probably they were overconfident. Maybe they were trying to go for the overkill mentality, or maybe they were just going for the amount of yards that was necessary
Hold
for
on,
the
hold
kid
on, hold
to
on.
get
But even then, no
the end of
JV
the
head coach
day.
would call that.
Listen. I'm not justifying it. Like I clearly
Yeah,
said
but
at the
you're
beginning.
downplaying what happened. You're
No, because
downplaying
I
what
still
happened.
listen. Because
You're
at the end of the
downplaying it.
day, I'm a fan and I still believe it. And listen,
I'm not
I'm
saying I'm
not
not saying
saying
not to believe, but you're downplaying
I'm,
what happened.
no. I'm just not. I'm not as bad as you guys are, but I'm not necessarily saying that you guys are wrong. And both things can be true.
Would
Okay,
you
maybe the state of the program is better, or maybe it is worse than you guys think, right? And
listen?
like I said,
I think you're playing speculation over here to try to confuse us. I honestly am surprised that you're not more pissed off than us three as a UM fan for what happened. Because you
because
literally could be right
I'm not the
now,
fan that
right
thinks that
now,
Five
you
and zero.
should
has
be
to
5 and
win,
0. You
right?
should be 5 and 0, but your head coach made one dumbass call, same dumbass call that he did when he was in Oregon, and here we are,
The
Miami
same
losing
happened when he
against a
was in
team like
Oregon.
Georgia Tech.
The same happened when he was in Oregon.
You didn't know
Like the
that
same play.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
The
It
same
happened when he
play.
was in Oregon too.
against Stanford.
But the same play.
Pretty much ran the ball, fumbled the ball at the end, and cost the game.
Stanford scored
Same
Now,
touchdown.
scenario.
I'll say this though, Mary Cristobal loves running the ball, and maybe he has to learn from this. But
Man,
at
listen,
the end of
UM
the
has
They
to
day,
hire
didn't run it the last time.
listen,
UM has to hire you for their
I
PR because you are underselling what happened here. Raul,
listen.
the national media. Dan Patrick doesn't talk
They
about
had to
UM.
do it because it was clearly a mistake, Sergio. Like,
No,
I
no,
mean,
no, 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 no,
no,
no,
no,
no.
no,
It
no,
was the
no.
magnitude of not the mistake that he'd happened. It was the ramifications of what comes afterwards, like the professor says.
It's not the
It's
crime; it's the cover up.
Guys,
it's afterwards.
Yeah.
And don't get me
guys,
wrong.
let me put it to you this way. Let me go back to the professor. The year that UF had last year, right? And it was the second year for the current coach, right? Billy
Napier,
Napier.
Napier.
It was the
Mm-hmm.
second year. They were not good. They clearly lost a lot of games. They were not competitive. How does that how you explain this to me and the professor, this is for you, right? Coming off a year who was clearly below the expectations of what the fans and what the program and what the school expected from
What
those.
is the expectation?
Hey, listen, man,
Exactly.
can you let me talk for a second? I'm trying to explain
I'm
my point.
asking you a question. I'm
No,
asking
no,
you a
no.
question.
Let me explain my point, and then you can go ahead, please.
Okay, go, go, go.
Okay. So what I'm trying to say is, after that year, you know what happened? Currently, this year, Billy Napier has the Florida Gators top five in recruiting. How? Well, because
How?
clearly in Florida, they didn't panic and they said, you know what? This is a process, okay? And we're going to let this guy do both parts. He's going to coach the games. Yes, he's going to lose some, but you know what? We're also going to give him the opportunity to develop relationship with the recruits, and maybe they're going to come in. They're going to decide to come to UF, and then maybe we have something to begin with and start the rebuilding process again. I just don't follow the whole. Listen, the criticism is granted. He made a mistake, and if you guys, what you guys are saying is true that this is not the first time that he's done it, then even more egregious. Okay, but at the same time, calling for his firing, today right now is not the right move. That's all I'm gonna say. Yeah,
No,
I
no
never.
one,
go
no one said that you
ahead.
should
Yeah,
get
the
fired.
professor did.
Jay
The
says
professor
you should get
did.
fired.
That's why.
I
Yeah,
did.
I never said that.
yeah, the professor did.
I did,
Yeah,
and I'm
no,
gonna
Correct.
we
double down
don't.
on it.
Go ahead,
We
Jay.
don't. We actually like him as a head coach.
Correct. Keep going.
Yeah, I know your reasons, but go ahead, yeah. What were you gonna say?
I was asking you, what is the
Oh
expectation for the
wait,
University of Miami?
Okay, I'm gonna respond and then back to the professor, right?
All right, go ahead, go ahead, go ahead.
Yeah, the expectations. Listen, the schedule is hard specifically because nobody expected Louisville to be this good. Okay, let's just put it how it is. Okay,
Wait, wait,
Louisville.
wait, wait, wait. What? Did you
Hey,
just say no? We didn't expect it to get this hard because Louisville is good.
can I finish my point?
That doesn't make any sense.
Guys, you're not telling me that the way that you listen. I agree with you guys. doesn't have the best schedule at the beginning of the season. Okay,
No, that's every year. That's every year.
yes, correct. It's been happening a lot of time.
But
Okay,
why? But why? No, but why?
listen, the school schedules these games, and I don't know why they're not scheduling more
You don't know
games.
why UM plays cupcakes?
For example, let me put it to you this way: for the last 4 years, like probably within the first 5 games of the year, we've played already Texas A&M twice every year. Like we went to Texas last year. This year they came here to Miami. It was 1-on-1, okay, but we're playing a high level team. Play the place as the SEC, right? Because you guys were talking about. Well, I was criticizing UF, but UF plays at the SEC, and they play SEC teams with SEC talent, okay. UM has played Texas 2 times the last 2 years. Okay, they've also played UF. They've also played Alabama. And guess what? UM got destroyed on all those games. Okay, alongside playing the cupcake games. Okay, so should UM be playing? Other teams that are probably more
Why are we
competitive?
destroying
I
UF?
would, I
Why are
would
we
agree.
destroying UF?
I would
Bro,
agree.
you are not
But
going to
UM
lure us
is
into a distraction
strong.
again.
Yeah,
Come
because
on.
you're still avoiding the question of what is the expectation for the
No.
University of Miami,
No,
and you
because
went on a run
every
about Florida.
just keep interrupting me, but let me go for it because I was
Oh,
about
wait.
to go to the expectation.
You're just talking and going in circles trying to figure out what to
No,
say.
I'm just explaining my
Bro.
point. Listen, the expectations was that we were probably going to beat Louisville, right? We definitely had to beat Georgia Tech, right? And now everything changes, right? Now most probably every single game into the end of the season, with the exception of Clemson and Florida State, because I'm not gonna put it out there. We should win every single game except for
Why?
those
No, no,
two.
no. Why would that expectation would have been 20 years of that happening? Why?
What do you mean? Even when UM was bad, UM was beating FSU in games.
We're not talking about Florida State here, bro. Stop talking about
No,
Florida State and
no. We're
UF,
talking
bro.
about the expectations of the season, right?
Yeah, and it was nothing. There was no expectation.
Yeah, I
No,
was asking whether your
no.
expectation is for your program to go 6-6 and make a bowl game, winning the conference championship, winning a national championship.
Let me put
That's
it
what
to
I
you
was
this way.
asking. Not about, Louisville all of a sudden is really good, and all of a sudden our expectations are down. What?
Okay, so let me finish it. You're correct. Ball definitely within the expectations, especially after the year that we had last year when we lost to Middle Tennessee. Horrible game, right? And this is Mario's second year. Even though this is only his second year, and he has to play a lot of freshmen, a ball game should be within the capabilities of this team, especially taking into account the talent that he got from the portal.
And the
Okay, so
schedule.
that was
And the
my
schedule.
expectation.
So
Yes,
your
yes,
expectations was
yes,
going six and
yes.
six
I
at a
would agree
minimum.
with you guys. I'm not the typical UM fan that you guys see on Twitter, just basically saying, whatever the program says or does regarding hiring and firing, we're gonna follow through. No. We're here to be objective. We're gonna make criticisms of the program. Okay.
But now
So
Mario. Mario gets absolved of liability.
listen, I just no, because I literally said
Okay.
that he got a run, that he made a mistake. I just
Let's
don't
talk
think, like the professor
about what makes
mentioned,
UM
that he
different.
should be
UF and
fired.
FSU.
But let's go back to the professor.
All right. Well, yeah, that's going to be a big game next week. It's going
Okay.
to be
So
at
what
North
makes UF and
Carolina.
FSU different?
Let
Oh,
Jay
my
go.
bad.
Yeah, let Jay
Go,
go.
Jay. Go, Jay. Go, Jay.
Damn.
Oh, no. So when you look at the University of Miami, the aspirations are just to make a bowl game. A UF and a Florida State fan would never say that.
Thank
Ever.
you. Thank
For UF and
you.
Florida State, it's a big bowl or it's nothing.
Thank you.
What ends up happening, what makes building in your situation different, is last year we were nowhere near the kind of team that we needed to be to make it to a big bowl game. So for all the fan base, there were no expectations except for building a good recruiting class, and he did that. That's why he kept his job, because we knew he was going to do that. And what do we have this year? We have a great team that'll do well. That might actually be able to slide into a really good bowl game. Maybe they will. Maybe they won't, but they'll be able to at least be in the conversation. So for him, mission accomplished. That's what we wanted. And he did it in 3 years. Well done. When you look at the University of Miami, the question is Mario Cristobal going to get the University of Miami eligible for a big bowl?
Looks like we're having some technical difficulties over here.
Yeah, I'll finish that before he comes back. I've been telling you, Raul, that for years, and you just, for whatever reason, you don't want to acknowledge that. The big three should have the expectations of ring, or like what Jay said, a big bowl game. But to go 6-6 is an embarrassment. Because remember, all I heard was 5-time national champions. All I heard was an amazing alumni class. All I heard was the great recruiting in Mario Cristobal, which he is a great recruiter. I got to give him that on the record. But you keep losing to these teams every single year. This is going to happen every single year. And by the way, spoiler alert, you guys are not getting the same kids 25, 30 years ago. They're not playing for They're going elsewhere. That's been a problem. There's a reason why Randy Shannon, I don't know if you knew that, Raul, Randy Shannon was the coach for back in the day. I remember Randy Shannon in 2007, 2008. He tried. Everybody has tried to fix the problem. The only way you fix it, Raul, objectively speaking, is you start beating the teams you're supposed to beat in a consistent years. That's the only way.
But that's every other team, right?
Correct.
There's only a handful of teams that can literally say, hey, we had a bad year, but we're still the University of Alabama. We're still the Ohio State University.
UM doesn't have that cachet. UM doesn't have that cachet.
No, and I will agree with you. It doesn't resonate with the recruits as it used to.
Why?
Because of a lot of reasons, most important, because we haven't been winning. It's obvious.
And you don't think that Cristobal's, because the other day it's his fault. You don't think, because the thing is that what you're doing, Raul, is you're being very political right now. You're being political. And what
you want me to do? You want me to,
no, because you,
I'm not going to do that, guys.
No, listen, I'm not saying that. I'm not saying
that. That is a horrible loss, but at the end of the day, I don't think that this loss alone, should require the school basically. You know what? We spend a lot of money to bring Cristobal from Oregon. We basically gave him an $8 million a year contract, and you know what? Just because of this loss, we're gonna basically fire him.
I'm not saying to fire him.
We didn't say to fire him.
I'm not saying to fire him, but me and Ye told you 2 years ago that we saw college football for years, and in Oregon, he was a disappointment. I know you want to go back to but he wanted the Pac-12. Raul, when you have Justin Herbert and the Nike money in Oregon, and you do not win, you are at fault for not winning. Just like UM.
Okay, but let's say how it is then. Every single coach in the history of Oregon has failed.
Correct. But the way you thought 2 years ago was, we got the guy from Oregon. And me, yeah, like the guy from Oregon, the guy who could have won with the great Justin Herbert.
Listen, you have like we said before. Listen, it has been a few struggling years for the University of Miami.
20. The 20's not a few.
It's been 20 year streak.
Yeah, 20's not a
few. A few years. You can count it however you want. And recruiting has been built. Part of building a great football program, it starts with recruiting, right? And there's obviously a lot of stuff that comes into it. But the biggest one is the talent that you put on the field. And I believe that Cristobal, just like Billy Napier has done at UF, is get the recruiting. Obviously, that's not the end for it. You also have to develop the talent. You also have. You also need the right coaching staff and all that stuff. But you have to start somewhere, okay? And getting the right players is probably the best place to start. And Mario Cristobal has been doing that for the past 2 years, okay? And I just don't think. And listen, and I agree with you. There's probably maybe what we
goes in one year, it goes in the other. He doesn't get it. You don't get it. He's a great recruiter. He can't coach.
Listen, man, I'm
correct.
I'm still willing to keep him as a coach. That's all I'm gonna say.
But why? If he's trash, I don't get it.
For another 3 more years.
Hey.
See what happens. If he continues to disappoint, then probably the university will move on. But in the meantime, I don't think he should be fired today.
I'm not saying he should be fired.
You were criticizing him even before he got hired.
Because we saw him in Oregon.
But I'm not. But listen, I'm not challenging you on that. I'm not saying that what you saw was wrong or anything like that.
But you're being a little bit of a blind fan. No. But you're being a little blind fan.
No. I'm just leaning to trust in the process. That's all I'm saying.
Look at the
All
stats.
right.
Stats don't lie. Go look at his numbers in Oregon. That's a great coach.
Listen, man, from UM has been trash for the last 20 years. I'm just gonna say it like you're saying it, okay? UM has been trash for the last 20 years. We only have one ACC championship appearance, and we got obliterated by the University of by Clemson University. Okay,
Oh,
so the fact that Mario Cristobal is recruiting top 10 and top 15 for
You
the
don't
last
get it.
2 years,
You
his
don't
first two
understand.
years.
You don't
No, no,
understand.
listen, I
That means
understand what
nothing.
you're
That means
saying.
nothing. He can't coach.
Oh man,
Raul, what's the no Raul, hold on, yeah. What's the point of getting these
okay.
recruits? What's the point of getting these recruits when you can't coach them?
listen, man.
Those are valid
uh,
arguments to consider, man. Especially if you're looking at what's going on with the conferences right now, with the power conferences breaking apart, and in the next 10 years, you're looking at the ACC might be in that situation with losing Clemson and Florida State. Do you really want to go ahead and waste your next couple of years with Mario Cristobal, who obviously is not the X's and O's guy, and continue to keep your team in mediocrity? And when these other conferences start looking, it's not going to look good. You guys need to make changes in the
there's
right direction.
no, there's a lot of there's obviously been. Would I want you know other coaches to be here coaching Miami? Most definitely, I would probably say that the guy who's coaching at Oregon right now is doing a great job.
Oh my God.
Um, you got Lanning, yeah, he was
Recycle. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. He doesn't get it. Dion will
guys.
change your culture. Dion will completely
I was
change your
gonna
culture.
mention Dion. Yeah, I was gonna
Look,
mention
bro, I'll be
Dion.
an objective here. I get it. You has been trash, and you're looking for a silver lining. I understand that. Trust
We've
me.
all been there.
We have
We
Willie
all been
Taggart.
there.
We have Willie Taggart. We understand what you're talking about.
Hmm.
The problem is, Raul, is that unfortunately, Mike Norvell last year was in the hot seat. I don't know if you knew that. He was in the
Of
hot seat.
course, everybody knew that.
But why was Mike Norvell in the hot seat Raul, after a year and a half? Why? Because in Florida State, the standards are you got to go here. Why is UM has a lower standard, Raul?
Well,
Why?
listen, Sergio, you also
Why?
have to understand. You FSU won a championship more recently, right? In 2013, right?
UF.
And
Hey,
And
FSU,
hey.
FSU 2013.
FSU,
Thanks
correct.
to
So the
UCF's coach, by the way. But go ahead.
Hey, Osmanzon
and
got us a championship too at 2017.
right, and to be honest, like everyone thought that this was a this just the beginning of another FSU dynasty. Okay, and then something happened with Jimbo and the boosters and the school and whatnot, and all
Jimbo
went to
Jimbo
hell.
sold out Florida State, bro. Jimbo
Jimbo
sold out.
destroyed Florida State. He
Jesus.
ruined that team to the point that he had no choice but to deep because he knew if he stuck around, his value will drop.
Well, wasn't the reports came out that he stopped recruiting? Who does that?
Jesus.
Yeah,
Really?
Yeah.
there was a huge article that came out a couple years ago. Yeah, I'll
Okay,
send it to
I
you.
never said
Yeah, he stopped
that.
recruiting. He stopped doing his job. Mario Cristobal, to his point, gets tremendo recruits. He's an amazing guy when it comes to recruits.
Yeah,
The
I
problem,
listen.
bro, I'm not saying to fire Cristobal. I'm not one of those people.
Okay.
He could turn it around if he wins. I don't, bro. I'm gonna say it on the record. The problem is I have with you, not you, but I'm saying that what happened is that I just think that for his sake, those kids better love the brand more than the coach. Because I don't understand, I don't know how you mentally and psychologically get these kids ready to go after you basically sold them out. That's a problem. At
Yeah.
least look, listen, at least Willie Taggart loved the kids, but he was incompetent. We understand that. Napier, the guy from UF, tremendous recruits, but he's got to get it together. Gus Manzone, thank you for the 2013 National Champs, coach. You're the greatest in ever. Mario
I'll
Cristobal
take
has
the
a
compliment.
Mario Cristobal, Raul, to be fair, has a pretty high future if he's successful. UM has money. They have the national brand. They have the recruits. They have the alumni. They have the cupcake schedule every single year that people, the UM fans, not you, but the UM fans seem to ignore. He should be winning. Could we agree, Raul? He should be winning, right? He should be winning.
That's why I said, and props to Ye for the question regarding the expectations of the program. Okay, at the same time, you have to understand where the program is. When the professor was saying earlier, I wanted to talk to him about this because he said every year, there's high expectations at UF, and at least what you're expected is that you go to a really big important ball game. Well, listen, but then he just proceeded to say, "Oh, last year we lost, the first 4 games, so we had a horrible record, and we decided, you know what, this is a whatever season, we're just gonna move past it." Well, listen, man, to me, those are contradictions. You cannot say that the expectations are that is a big bowl game, at least a big bowl game every season, and then say, "Oh, but we knew that season was already done." There was no expectations for that. That my point is that expectations should be set from the beginning of the season, and whether you meet them or not, that's the evaluation that you're going to make. You cannot change expectations in the middle of the season. If only it happens the only situation is like the FSU last year, where you were, you know what, you guys are not there yet. There's no expectation. Then I don't know where you start winning really important games, and then I don't know where the next year you get the recruits from the portal, and now we're talking about, okay, this
Don't
is
make
up to
make
the
make
expectation.
make no mistakes about it, bro. The 10-win season last year saved Mike Norrell. It's saved. By the way, the professor just put a chat.
Yeah, come in. Why is he
He
Oh,
not
I
here?
didn't see him. I didn't see him.
last season saved, but I'll leave it to the professor. Take,
Yeah.
go ahead. I'm gonna get him a Napier shirt when it's over. I
I
heart
don't know.
Napier.
It
I heart Napier.
looks like we're still having technical difficulties with the professor.
By the way, yeah, have you seen Gus in campus walking around?
No, no. Remember, I work off campus.
Oh, okay.
So for those that don't know, I do work for the University of Central Florida. I work in one of their data management departments. So not to give too many specifics and give myself out.
Hey, proud alumni, proud
Yep.
employee. It's all good, man.
Yeah,
But
yeah, yeah. And hopefully, with the letter of recommendation you just put in, I'll get accepted to my master's program, and I'll start in January. So fingers crossed on that. Unfortunately, it looks like we did have some issues with the professor coming in. So I'll just put it right here. Let's go ahead and give a 10 bell salute to the University of Miami. The U is back is officially dead. It lasted from August to October of 2023. Well, I think I do have the professor over here.
Yes, I
Hey,
am
there you
here.
go. Now you're back. You're back. You're
Standard.
back. All right.
Yes. Okay. No. So the point was that when you go to certain universities, there are only certain bowl games that matter. If your team cannot make it to those bowl games that matter, you'd rather just rebuild. That's the logic of the fan bases from those teams. That's all I was saying.
Gotcha. Okay.
All right.
Understandable.
I
Any?
heard the Eagle reiterate my point, but slightly falsely.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So that's going to
We need
be.
more time for you to explain it.
So that's
Go
going to
ahead.
be University of Miami and North Carolina for this upcoming weekend. Game is scheduled at 7:30. Right now, North Carolina is a 3.5 point favorite based on this Vegas stats. So we'll see what happens in that game. Hopefully, the University of Miami can figure out what's going on, turn it around, or North Carolina is going to come in and show why they have a Heisman in the helm. So let's look at the previews for this upcoming week. The kid, who do you have as the game to watch for this weekend?
it has to be Mario Cristobal versus the Tar Heels. After what just happened, the national news, even though the Eagle does a great job trying to put the broom aside, um, it has to be that game because and it's prime time, right? So
Yep.
everybody's going to be tuning in to Miami at North Carolina to not only see the game, but to see the interactions, to see what
Yep.
these kids are up for. Because if these kids give up on national TV and it looks like there's no effort, they're just whatever. Moyo Cristobal, I might have to amend that because if the kids give up, Eagle, you got to give me this. You got to get them out if the kids give up. So I'm interested to see
We'll see.
fight one for the Gibber kind of thing. And if they irrespective of that, I got the Tar Heels winning irrespective of you having an effort or not. Doesn't matter. That Heisman guy, he's really good. Drake Maine, they get their starting receiver back. It's at home. They're a top 15 school in the country. I was talking to Ye about this. This could in their mind, they could possibly be thinking, we don't play Florida State. This could be our year to meet them in North Carolina. All the pressure is on Nothing is in the Tar Heels because the Tar Heels are a basketball school. They don't care. And whatever they get here, it's profits for the university and all that stuff. UM is a football school, but obviously don't tell them that because the last 20 years they've been a baseball and basketball school. but this is what I want to see. TVD to some people actually, there was a presumption that because he was beating high school teams, that he was actually a competent quarterback. TBD he's all right. He's mid. Good luck against Chapel Hill because I got the Tar Heels winning.
All right, Professor, who do you got as the game of the week for next upcoming weekend?
All right, there's my heart and there's my head. My head says Oregon, Washington because I believe that's two top ranked teams undefeated.
Yes.
However, my heart really says University of Miami next Saturday because that'll be Mario Cristobal playing for his job, in my opinion.
Who do you got that one, Jay? Who do you got for UM and Tar Heels?
The Tar Heels are going to win.
Dun, dun, dun.
So there we go. Big game right there. The Eagle, what is your game of the week?
Listen, guys, let's just get this. Let's put some spicy on this. UM, North Carolina. I'm just gonna say it. UM is gonna win the game. They're gonna go to North Carolina. They're gonna beat the Tar Heels. They're gonna beat the Heisman guy. I don't know what you guys say the Heisman guy. He's just the Heisman candidate, but who know? We know who's gonna win it. That's Caleb Williams. Okay,
It ain't
so
TBD.
it's good. Oh, that's correct. He ain't winning it, but he might win the game on Saturday.
Georgia
night.
Tech gave him Defensive Player of the Year.
Listen, man. I guess all this criticism and all this attention comes only because of the brand and what the U has done for the past few years. Okay, and I totally get it. We UM fans should be accustomed to this. Okay, so all I'm saying is
Accustomed
we're
to losing?
focusing on UM this week. It's all good. I'm the only one on the panel who says that UM is going to win the game. Fingers crossed. That's my pick.
Well, that's a great pick, but I'm going to go ahead and steer away from the UM game because I think we talk way too much about it.
Yeah.
We already have an idea of what's our opinion on this game. Let's look at what's really important. Let's look at the Pac-12, that Oregon-Washington game that the professor mentioned. That's going to be a huge game. This is the number 18 versus the number 17, where Washington is only a 2.5-point favorite in this game. This is going to be a game to watch because it sets whoever wins this game right into the Pac-12 championship, in my opinion. So that's going to be huge. And at the same time, let's look at number 10 USC going against number 21 Notre Dame. Notre Dame might be out of the picture, but Notre Dame is a 2.5-point favorite in this game. And they could knock out USC out of a title contention.
Who's home?
So that's going to be Notre Dame. Notre Dame.
Yeah, you know what? USC might lose that game.
Let the dream die. Let them go. Every year.
The Trojans have no defense, man.
We're going to have to see what's going to happen in those two games. I think those two games are going to be pivotal, specifically for the Pac-12 and how everything finalizes for them, as this is the last year for this conference. So let's go ahead and end it right then and there. Thank you for tuning in. Once again, go ahead and hit like, subscribe. Go ahead and tell us what you think is the game of the week. And of course, thank you for tuning in. This was Nerd Breaking News.
Go Tar Heels.
Every time Raul mentions UM